If you're looking for a little political joy tonight, you're going to want to stay through this whole video. Because Donald Trump's night has already gone completely off the rails. One of the biggest Democratic victories of the evening has already landed. His numbers are cratering, and his campaign is collapsing in ways that were once hard to even imagine. Trump's White House is in full meltdown mode. He's already losing races tonight, and one of his key strategies meant to block Democrats from winning the midterms has completely exploded in his face. And no, I'm not even talking about Prop 50. This one is massive. We're going to break it all down, including the breaking developments that have Trump panicking, hiding, and unraveling. But before we dive into all that and the updates coming out of Virginia, I'd really appreciate it if you could leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. It really helps support what we do here. Now, before we get into the big breaking news and the huge Democratic win, let's start with the intimidation plan Donald Trump tried to pull today. The one that just blew up in his face. Beginning with what Carolyn Levitt had to say right here.
The president posted on Truth Social that the voting underway in California is, quote, rigged. What evidence does he have of that, and what does it mean that mail-in ballots in that state are under legal and criminal review? By whom and why? And also, in this vein, does the White House still plan to issue an executive order banning mail-in voting, and what legal authority do you have to do that?
The White House is working on an executive order to strengthen our elections in this country and to ensure that there cannot be blatant fraud, as we've seen in California with their universal mail-in voting system. It's absolutely true that there's fraud in California's elections. It's just a fact. It is just a fact. They have a universal mail-in voting system, which we know is ripe for fraud. And if you want to deny that, I'm happy to provide you all of the evidence for it. I'd be glad to send that to you after this briefing.
Rigged.
Fraudulent ballots that are being mailed in the names of other people, in the names of illegal aliens who shouldn't be voting in American elections. There's countless examples, and we'd be happy to provide them. As for executive action the White House is taking, yes, we are looking into that. And like any executive order, of course, any executive order the president signs is within his full executive authority and within the confines of the law.
So, it is clear that Donald Trump's express goal today was to try on for size to work out his intimidation plan, saying that there would be a legal and criminal review of the votes cast in California, that Donald Trump was sending his mass thugs to San Francisco, to LA, to big cities across California. Donald Trump is doing the same type of intimidation, of course, across the country. We are seeing very impactful elections, but it's just not working, especially because Gavin Newsom hit back at Carolyn Levitt's lie. I want to take a look at what he had to say, and then, of course, we are getting into that big breaking news. But this is just such important context for how badly Donald Trump is already losing. In response to Carolyn Levitt, Gavin Newsom said, "They cheat and lie because they know they are going to lose." Carolyn Levitt, of course, melted down at that response, writing, "Caller has among the worst laws for securing elections in the entire nation." That's a lie. Governor Newsom and the rest of the radical Democrats in California blatantly refused to adopt common-sense election integrity measures. That's a lie. And I'm not even going to continue to read the rest of this post. So Carolyn Levitt is lying about the intimidation, lying that there is voter fraud all over the place in California. It's just not the case. But what is the case is that Donald Trump's intimidation has already failed. Because Democrats in Virginia, gubernatorial candidate Abigail Spanberger, who is now governor-elect in Virginia, has flipped that seat. Has flipped that state from red to blue. That is a devastating setback for Donald Trump. The man who has spent months attacking federal workers in Virginia and lashing out at the state simply because of its proximity to Washington, D.C. He can't get away with that anymore because he's now facing real opposition from Abigail Spanberger. This is a major victory, a critical flip. and it shows just how much momentum Democrats have right now. Her opponent, Winsome Sears, isn't just losing, she's being completely obliterated. And anyone in Virginia already knows why. She's a hardline MAGA extremist. For those outside Virginia who've seen her clips, you know exactly what we're talking about. This is an absolute blowout and a major turning point, with ripple effects across other key races tonight. It's especially significant because it ensures Democrats now have the governorship aligned with their ongoing redistricting efforts, a move that will shape the state's political future for years. Virginia is pushing back. Maryland is pushing back. And California is poised to deliver big results tonight on Proposition 50. Meanwhile, Donald Trump? He's gone quiet. No events on his schedule. No public appearances. His team has kept him tucked away as the losses pile up and his numbers crater. And even Fox News, of all outlets, just dropped an update that makes the picture even worse for him.
Polling-wise, he's doing very poorly on the economy. Now, there may be reasons for this, but I will just say the averages from Real Clear Politics, okay, on the economy, Mr. Trump is underwater 41.54. 13 points underwater. And on inflation, again, the average of Real Clear Politics, and there are a lot of good polls inside that average, he's underwater by 25 points, 61% disapprove, 36% approve. I'm not sure why this is, but those are not good numbers for going into the midterms. They're just not good numbers in general, even though, as I said, the economy is starting to boom. And the inflation rate is not that bad. It's 3%. It's not getting any worse. So what do you make of that?
Donald Trump's approval numbers are collapsing so badly that even Fox News is admitting they're in the gutter. Everywhere he looks tonight, it's loss after loss, and he's absolutely fuming. I wouldn't be surprised if the White House walls were covered in ketchup again. But if you were waiting for a night of political joy, this is it, and it's just getting started. Victories are pouring in from New Jersey, New York City, Pennsylvania, Georgia, and California as Democrats continue to have a massive election night. What makes this even better is that these wins aren't just about beating Trump. They're about defining the future of the Democratic Party. The candidates leading these victories aren't just running against Trump, they're running for something: affordability, progress, and unity. Zoran Mamdani, for example, is one of the most inspiring candidates I've seen in years, a leader with a real vision for what comes next. We've got progressives, moderates, and everyone in between working together to expand the Democratic tent and bring in new voters, including some former Trump supporters. That's the power of building a forward-looking movement. This administration is deeply unpopular, and Democrats are seizing that moment to fight back with bold, hopeful ideas. And the numbers proving just how bad things have gotten for Donald Trump, Lawrence O'Donnell broke them down perfectly, and you're going to want to see this.
Well, you are not alone tonight in this country if you disapprove of Donald Trump's presidency. A new poll finds the highest disapproval number that Donald Trump has ever had. If you disapprove of the job Donald Trump is doing as president, you are joined by 63% of Americans in that disapproval. That is 1 percentage point higher than the disapproval Donald Trump achieved in the same poll in the second week of January 2021 after he told a Trump-supporting mob to go to the Capitol and fight like hell. More Americans disapprove of Donald Trump tonight than they did after the January 6th attack on the Capitol. And you are not alone tonight if you disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of the government shutdown. You are part of the 61% majority who disapprove of Donald Trump's handling of the government shutdown. You are not alone tonight if you blame Donald Trump for worsening economic conditions. 61% blame Donald Trump's policies for worsening economic conditions. You are not alone tonight in this country if you think the country is moving in the wrong direction. According to a new ABC News poll, 2/3 of the country believes that. 67% say the country is moving in the wrong direction. ABC News notes majorities of Americans in urban, suburban, and rural areas say the country is moving in the wrong direction, as well as those with varying levels of education and income. That is a powerful polling result in a country that usually has significant differences between urban, suburban, and rural areas, and significant differences in polling among varying levels of education and income. But majorities of Americans in all of those categories believe the country is moving in the wrong direction. So you are not alone, no matter where you live in this country, if you think Donald Trump is moving the country in the wrong direction. In that same ABC News poll, 64% of Americans say Trump is going too far in trying to expand the power of the presidency. In 288 days in the presidency this time, Donald Trump has managed to unify the country in disapproval of him. The ABC News poll shows majorities of Americans also disapprove of how Trump is handling every issue measured in the poll.
Just a heads up, I'll be wearing the biggest smile tonight because it's shaping up to be an amazing election night. I'll be keeping you updated throughout the evening, so make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.